This is IBM Museum, and we have another unboxing video. I know it's in this box, and so we'll get looking at it, and we'll get looking at how this will fit in to what I have, and even to be able to send a part now to a friend for what he needs. So I'm fairly certain that I do know what this is based on the size. I mean, I was given notification that it was coming in, and this is from an eBay sale, as it's marked, not like the Amazon link I have for it back here. I realize some of the text is kind of hard to see, and it's kind of funny that this came in ultimately a black box. And I mean, the black box brand for that, they have kind of some neat gear in this case. It's got buy with confidence, so I know this is not the original box of what it is. I do have some of the items that will align with this topic already laid out. I have my tweener system off to the side. It's actually not powered up. There's even a reason for that, as I'll go through and open this up. And being careful not to cut too deep into it. I know that this, I had to see kind of what this includes as well. And I'll go through and actually probably work with that to connect up. It's nice. It actually looks like I've got some more, ultimately some blank disc. And I've got to decide. I'll probably go through and let's hide the built-in webcam. So just that I have more field of view to, I know what I'm working with here, and it's not giving some weird delay system where you see something in the webcam view and then also see it in the camcorder. And so the parts that are included in this, beyond the blank disc, and these are already the parts I had standing by, but they do include a cable. And I'll show the difference between these cables in just a moment as well. This is the cable that came with it, and this will actually be what I'll use, what I'll connect into on my tweener system for testing this unit in one part. So it's got the auto detect, and this would be normally at the, take a look at the drive. This is the drive itself, and yeah, so it's okay. So then that makes a lot better sense, and I'll have to find out if I can work with this or if I'm going to need something else, because this is the so-called plus version of the drive. So let's see how that's marked on the front. Zip drive plus, and this is a 100 megabyte version marked on the bottom. Now what this does is it actually, and these are kind of the newer version, show the back there. It's got that auto detect, and then it has the both the SCSI and the printer showing the icons for those. And then you have the switch on there for the SCSI ID being 5 or 6 if you have it set up as SCSI. And so these actually go through, the plus versions, they go through and they work with, to replace effectively the two different models of, this is the SCSI interface model, and I actually have it linked in through this cabling setup, just a switch block. It'd be interesting to kind of see, like I say, my tweener system otherwise does not, it has a high density 50-pin port, does not have the so-called Apple style SCSI. And that may get to be an issue as far as the testing, as we'll go through in a moment. But we certainly should be able to test it as a parallel based unit, and that's the aspect I want to do under the booting up to the MS-DOS 6.22 that's on, or 6.21, whichever, that's on my tweener system. Now the other cables that I have here, this is for the, ultimately for the parallel port version. I do have my box of zip drives down here, and these parallel versions are good. They seem to be the most common, at least, and getting them to be recognized under DOS is easy. I'm also going to start looking into what's called the Palm Zip driver, and that enables it to be used on older systems. Like I'm looking at the IBM PS2 Model 25 and 30. It can go back to where it's able to run with the 8086 or V30 chip that I do have on my Model 30, so I intend to go through and test. And you can see the icons on the back of that. It's got the zip connection on one side, that's from the computer, and then it has the icon for the parallel printer on the other side out, that it can be daisy chained from there. And I looked on the cable, I didn't see where this is the drive end, what's marked as zip, and then the IOmega on the other side. Get my camera to focus. And then for the computer side, plugging into the printer port, of course, it's just marked as IOmega. And so that's the parallel port side of that. I can put those aside. This is the drive, and this is the cord that was included with the SCSI zip drive I had. And I'll send this along. I have plans to send the SCSI version of this to a friend. He's got a cable that connects it into the system that he needs, but I will include this cable along. I'm breaking it open brand new for him in this case, so that the computer end is labeled as at IOmega and zip. Excuse me, that's the zip drive end, zip and IOmega, and then on the PC side, it's marked as IOmega, and then it has the icon for SCSI on the other side. So this will be included with that zip drive I have connected here. I've got to figure out if I can go through. I'll use this cord for the parallel side, but I don't think that this, yeah, it's going to have to be, yeah, so this is effectively the wrong gender here for what I'm ultimately looking at. And I may have to see just a quick dive. I've got my SCSI cables organized, and that might even be a later video that I can do for the SCSI side of testing this unit, because that does have that auto detect connection. And then on, let's look to see how Okay. So we have this effectively on the zip SCSI format, and that has switches for the termination and also for the SCSI ID, just like this Plus model does, shifting between 5 and 6. I think the termination on these is for this model is kind of like an auto detect now, to where it goes through and can figure things out from there. So I've got to see if I'll maybe have to come up with another switch box. Certainly I have a switch box here for the serial that I might be able to use, but that just might be some other later video that I can do. And for what I'm going to do now is I'll go to plugging that in on that auto detect side, and I even have to be sure I've gone through and I've actually edited I did that menuing video for MS-DOS, and I had to figure out if I even have the parallel port is deep down in here. I guess I can go heck with pausing the video. I can probably try and just do a blind connection. I know where that parallel port is. Just a matter of going through and if I'm this far in, of course, going through and disconnecting portion of the connection. I have the the LED of the network is still active, even with the machine off, of course. I have that occasionally lighting. I think I'm going the correct that sure does not well, I guess it'd help if I wasn't going for the the other serial connection, because the parallel port is off in another place. I was assuming it was the parallel connection below that, so. But you know my videos, they are, you get to see the slow plotting things that I do sometimes. I kind of wish that I'd gone the other way, but that should be enough in this instance. Okay. So we are going to go through and we'll get the tweener system powered up. And I will need to have power to this drive anyway. we will get okay. Okay, we'll get the beep for which OS that we want to boot from. We're going to select the MS-DOS side. I'm going to see if this drive is going to be identified, because the last I did for the, okay, and that's right, for it not finding the SCSI drive, although I didn't see it find anything for the parallel port model as well, because I've got those lines commented out, and I don't think it loaded any of the drivers. Okay, I might have to go through. We're going to have another just a longer video with the contortions I'll go through. And I'm going to go through for the, and I still have these set as nibble mode, which is fine. And I'm trying to think if I can do, there's got the ASCII ppm1.sys and the ppm2. And I'm going to do one of those. Okay. And we'll do a Control-Delete for a reboot. Just to briefly flip over to where it can be seen. I just went through and I've got everything connected up now and the drive powered. And I do even have a disk in the drive now. Okay, and we'll go through and we'll get the beep. It'll go through the splash screen. Again, I'm aware that it goes through and it does effectively boot slow for the system. Okay, let's do the MS-DOS site again. Okay, and I didn't see any. Okay, so now we have the ASCII. We still, yeah. So do we have to? I have to go through and unremark that other line. And I need to go through and optimize these device to go through and to take them out of that nibble mode. And Control-Delete again. And I'll have to see how I can go through. I don't know if I can dig through my cabling, my SCSI cabling, to find an appropriate adapter for that. But let me take a look at my switch block, because that may be easy enough to use in this instance. Okay, we're going to go down to the MS-DOS. Okay, so there it did. I don't know if it has the duplicate I thought it told me that it found it. Well, so if it found the drive, and I do have this, and it loaded the driver, why did it go through and give me an invalid drive specification? I'll have to probably go through and troubleshoot. Let me pause. So it'll be a good instructive video maybe. What I'm going to do is I am going to put I'm going to go through and put the parallel port model on the parallel port. And we're going to go through and with the way that our config.sys file is set up, and I'll go through and I may just uncomment everything. But I'm going to go see if we can get that to be viewable in this case. So I'll be back after the pause. Okay, so that's been interesting enough that I've got the parallel port model connected up through its standard cable that comes with that drive, and I'm going through and it's booting up my tweener system. I'm going to go through and select the DOS operating system here. And I've uncommented just everything from the config.sys. So I'll have to go through and optimize that a little bit better, come up with that menuing system like I was talking about for the aspect of the... Okay, so okay, and we see all in that mix that, and I probably have it duplicated. I can go through and check that again, but it shows the drive D as a valid directory, and I think that this is because it's, let's go through and check. Okay, at least this is working as expected. It's only showing up as a single drive not on the D&E like I saw at some earlier point in the configuration. So this is the parallel port version that I've got working with its cable and everything else. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to revert back to the Plus unit. And I was really glad to have dug around a little bit in the box in the meantime too, in that I found this device. It goes through and it's just an inline connector, and so I can actually test that using the SCSI interface as well. This will give me a chance to connect things in, and I'll show that at the appropriate time. So I'm going to pause again, and I'm going to switch back to the Plus drive. Okay, so we're back to the Plus version, and we have it powered up. I've got a disk in there. I've just booted up my tweener system. And it's about to go through the second sequence of the splash screen. It'll give us our beep. Okay, and we're going to select the MS-DOS for that. Okay, so it gave us just about the same thing. It found that ZIP 100 Plus now. Okay, since we've got we can do that directory listing. So there we've got the drive showing up parallel port-wise to DOS. Now, I went through and I set it up for the SCSI side of things. So with that little adapter that I found, we're going to try that as well. So let's go through. I'll switch back to the camcorder view. I know it'll be a little bit disconcerting to kind of see the delays between the two images there. But I'm going to go through. I'll have power the zip drive down, power the system down, and I'm actually going to take this auto detect cable, and I'm going to flip it around here. I have the SCSI interface coming off that. I've gone through my little switch box to get to that connector that I can use for the SCSI drive that's there. But I'm going to go through and I'm going to pull this included adapter. So it looked like everything was included with this unit. And this is even still sealed up. And I got this for a real nice price. I'll go through, and I don't think I could normally even do these, has these as looking down, because somewhere around here I do have a driver for this size of, but I'll go through to where the connectors can even be screwed in on either side if needed. so, and these big thick cables, it's easier to flip over the thin cable than the big thick SCSI cable there. So I have that connected in, and we'll go through, we'll power up. We'll do the right power up, plug in the right transformer here to get that. And let's go through. We're going to go through and boot up to MS-DOS first with that on the SCSI chain, just to kind of see how that works out. And I do still have things, I've got everything unremarked in my config.sys, so it should go through, and it may even give us warnings or something else of that parallel port mode is not connected anymore. Through and loading the drivers, and that's why I was trying to come up with that menuing utility. Okay, we'll get to our beep of OS selection. Okay, have it identified there, and this is connected to the SCSI interface now. Okay, to read the contents. Now we can go through and let's just do a control delete. We're just going to hands off the keyboard because this is going to go through, and I'm going to boot to the XP Pro on this system. I didn't really intend to. I was thinking, hey, we can just check it on the DOS side and everything, but I want to go through. I want to check, you know, the parallel port mode really doesn't work so well under the XP, or maybe there's some sequence I need to go through to get that to work better, and I can maybe play with that a little bit more now that I have the Plus version of the drive. And it's not coming out, even with all the scrambling and me trying to connect up ports and everything else to the wrong places on the back of my tweener system. It's not going to come out with too long a video, although I can go through and I can select, just so we don't go through that full 25 seconds of countdown, to see on the XP system. And these Plus drives are supposed to be, they're a newer drive, and they are reported to be more susceptible to that so-called click of death. I intend to go through and have a video of Steve Gibson Research. Steve years ago did a utility for checking if the drive was susceptible. Nothing can go through and prevent that, but checking if the drive is susceptible to the click of death. And I intend to go through and run that utility. It's even interesting enough that recently that, and that's called Trouble in Paradise, is what Steve Gibson named it. That was ported through his assistance to also the older Mac OS. And I really want to see how that utility runs under Mac OS as well, but I'll probably run it from just the Windows side and kind of see and have a video for that. But let's go through we're now in Windows XP. We have that removable disk F showing, and there we've got our directory listings on that disk. So this Plus unit is able to work both as the SCSI interface and also the parallel port. So it's a nice little unit that will go through and be able to free up me going through and being able to send off with the cable this SCSI unit to a friend. I'll put all that in the package to him, and we'll be good for that. So the other items, I mean, I didn't leaf through it. It's got just about, it looks like everything in here. It even has a manual too, so that's great. I'll be helpful looking through that. But that blank zip disk, that was the package that adapter came through, that so-called gender changer. And it's got a lot of the little cards and everything else, just everything but effectively the box for all that. So the owner's manual. So all the literature and everything else to that installation guide, that'll be interesting. So they got the parallel port listing, printer installation guide. So daisy chaining the printer for that. And it might be good to go through and I can scan these manuals if they've not been done already. SCSI Insider, the user's guide for the parallel port side. Even another cable in here. This maybe being the cable from that's the high, so that's the high density connection like I have on my tweener system, the SCSI connection, and to the effective port. You still need that adapter to go to adapt that to the other cable, but and so amusingly enough, that's from the black box side. That's not necessarily included from the IOmega stuff. This seems like it was a drive that the seller had, and they just put everything in there that I would need. Lots of extra little components, and if I'd even look at the quality product from Black Box, that was where that connector that I needed, connector, and that's also not necessarily from the IOmega initial package. That looks like it's from the Black Box. So I don't know the conditions that they had for how they had that drive to sell it, and I was amazed. It was otherwise it was a very good price and everything else. So that's fantastic. But that's the review of that today. That ZIP 100 Plus, taking the place of the parallel port and the SCSI model, combine them into one. If I don't have issues, hopefully that newer manufacturer The newer manufactured zip drives were more known for the click of death than the older models that had a little bit heavier construction, as it were. So we'll go through and check that out in a future video, but this has been a pretty informative video for me, and stumbling at times, but we plodded through and got it done. So if you enjoyed it, click on that like button and subscribe to my channel if you have not done so already. Recommend it to your friends that are interested in this sort of content. And it's going to be varied topics, but have them subscribe too. But this is IBM Museum. That's all I have for now. Thank you.